Never seen anything like it. That, as you know, is a favorite phrase of President Trump. He says it so often and in so many different venues, in fact, that it has almost become white rhetorical noise. A week ago, however, the president used it about the ceasefire he negotiated between Israel and Hamas with a certain deeper resonance. That ceasefire included the return of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. It carried extravagant ambitions of a disarmed Hamas, benign governance of Gaza, and a multinational effort to rebuild that devastated enclave. Trump placed its achievement, still in its infancy, in a never-before-seen timeline of 500 years, maybe even 3,000 years. Well, we're a week in, and cracks are forming. Hamas violence, Israeli military reprisals, deaths on both sides. The president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and his top diplomatic envoy, Steve Witkoff, met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today to keep things from unraveling. Vice President J.D. Vance left tonight for Israel. This has been seen before. U.S. presidents negotiating for peace, details proving difficult, shuttle diplomacy ensuing. This time, though, Trump appears ready to enforce or settle things on his terms, suggesting, as he did today, the U.S. could grow ever more involved, possibly even militarily. Here's how he put it.
We made a deal with Hamas that, they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them if we have to.
That sounds ominous, and yet Hamas has almost no friends left in the region, ideologically or financially. Its zone of influence within Gaza has shrunk dramatically. What it can do to spoil the peace and for how long, no one quite knows. But in the category of that which has never been seen before, these uncertainties, stained with blood and drenched in diplomatic heartbreak, are all too familiar. And peace, as it turns out, is hard to achieve, not only in the Middle East, but in Ukraine. And it's been roiled by recent U.S. military actions near South America. For insight into much of this, we begin at the White House with Olivia Rinaldi. Olivia, great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Start with the Middle East and what the president said about Hamas and the prospects for keeping this trajectory on pace.
Well, Major, just 10 days in, it appears that this ceasefire, this truce, is on fragile ground. As you mentioned, Special Envoy Witkoff, the president's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, and who's acting as really an outside advisor to the situation in the Middle East, have been deployed there to sit down with Netanyahu and make sure everything is still on track. There are perhaps no quick triggers to what we saw over the weekend when there was violence on either side, strikes on either side. Vice President Vance also making a trip to the region, expecting to land there at some point tomorrow and to meet with with people within the Israeli cabinet to talk to them about what's going on the ground and keeping the peace between Israel and Hamas. But today you heard what really was frustration from the president of what we saw over the weekend. They are insisting that this ceasefire is still in place just 10 days later. But the president did say we're going to eradicate them if we have to. And it's the we that had the people in the cabinet room with the president today as he was meeting with the Australian Prime Minister, questioning who's we, who would go into a situation in Gaza. The president later said that countries have been calling him, telling him, quote, we'd love to go in and take care of the situation ourselves in regards to Hamas and the killing of innocent Palestinians, which is something we have seen over the last several days. He also said you'd love to have Israel go in within 2 minutes. I could tell Netanyahu to go in and take care of it. He said, but right now we haven't said that, saying we're going to give peace a little bit of a chance. But knowing this president, the question is just how long is he willing to give them that chance?
And Olivia, very quickly, last week a phone call with Russian President Putin, a meeting at the White House with Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, and the president still non-committal on those all-important Tomahawk missiles to the Ukrainians.
Right. President Zelensky leaving the White House did not get those Tomahawk missiles, did not get the agreement that he wanted there. And in fact, the president on Truth Social saying that they should just call it a truce where it is right now and let history decide, freeze the lines where they are. This is a reversal from what President Trump said last month when he said he believes that Ukraine can win back everything that it has lost in this 3-year-long war. So certainly in a reversal there. Zelensky, speaking to reporters earlier today, said that the president President Trump just does not want an escalation with Russia before he meets with Russian President Vladimir Putin. But, Major, we still do not have a date for that alleged meeting between the president of the U.S. and president of Russia in Budapest, Hungary. We have a location. We just do not have a date yet.
Olivia Rinaldi at the White House. Thanks so very much.